This anime begins by showing a swordsman, Saizou Kirigakure, relaxing in a forest. He noticed a very shabby-looking woman named Izanami trying to approach him because she was being chased by ninjas. Izanami asked him for help but refused because he felt it was none of his business. The ninjas began to surround them with their weapons. Saizou had no choice but to attack the ninjas. With his sword technique, he could easily defeat the ninjas. Afterward, Izanami asked Saizou to come with her to Shinzu Ueda. He again refused because he didn't want to get involved with her. She was angry and cursed him while saying that he was heartless. He then turned mad at her because she should have thanked him after being helped, not angry and cursing him. Izanami forced him to come with her for a fee. She would buy him a meal. Since Saizou was starving and had no money, he agreed to her request. Saizou and Izanami were seen at a diner. Izanami looked starving and ordered some bowls of noodles, while Saizou only finished one bowl of noodles while staring astonished at her. She thanked him for helping her and felt he was a good person. Saizou reminded her not to conclude something about him too soon. He also said that he helped her because he didn't want to starve to death. Soon, Saizou asked Izanami to continue her journey to Ueda. As they almost reached Ueda, Saizou asked Izanami to enter there alone, but she asked him to accompany her to the fortress of Ueda because she was afraid to pass through the area. Suddenly, a ninja named Sasuke appeared and attacked Saizou and Izanami because they both passed through the ninja's area of power. Saizou then fought Sasuke with his sword. Seeing this, Izanami stopped the fight and explained that she had come there to look for Sanada Yukimura. Eventually, Sasuke drove Saizou and Izanami to the regional commander's office to meet with Yukimura. Upon arrival at Yukimura's place, Izanami recounted the incident at the Izumo Temple, which had been attacked and burned to the point of killing all temple dwellers. Outdoors, Saizou was seen eavesdropping on Izanami and Yukimura's conversation. Izanami continued that they planned to flee when the temple priest was still alive. The enemy suddenly attacked him until death, and Izanami managed to escape. Before his death, the temple priest told her to ask Yukimura to help them. Izanami then asked Yukimura for help, but he did not want to help because he didn't want to be involved with her. If he helped Izanami, he would be dragged into the affair and put his life at risk. When hearing his answer, Izanami was surprised and cried because her struggle was vain after traveling so far. On the other hand, Saizou, who heard about it, left Yukimura's house to continue his journey. Since Izanami had nowhere to go, she decided to go with him. Saizou was angry because Izanami followed him everywhere. He said he didn't want to get in trouble for taking her away with him. Izanami also threatened to sleep in the forest to be eaten by stray dogs and asked Saizou to bury her body. He replied that he was heartless and didn't care what had happened to her. Suddenly, the ninjas attacked and bound them with chains in the forest. Saizou realized that the ninja's power was stronger than the one who previously became his opponent. From afar, Yukimura and Sasuke were watching Saizou and Izanami. It turned out that they were the mastermind behind the attack. Meanwhile, Saizou tried to fight, and he managed to break free from the chains and fight with the ninja. When he hurt the ninja, his blood splatter hit Izanami. She was frightened and pulled out the power from her hairpin. Izanami took out a giant black ball that could eliminate anything she passed. Everyone who was there was shocked by that power. Finally, the attacking ninjas were killed by Izanami's force. The unconscious Izanami was in a big hole she had made. Saizou tried to approach and hold her so that Izanami's power was lost, and she returned to normal. After waking up, Izanami thought Saizou had saved her from the ninja attacking them. Soon, Yukimura and Sasuke came to the place. Yukimura said that the ninja attack was his plan to test Izanami and Saizou. He also said that he wanted to help Izanami. Hearing this, Izanami asked Yukimura to hire Saizou at his place. Saizou was angry because Izanami arranged his life at will. Izanami replied that Saizou had to pay for noodles that she had bought before. Yukimura and Sasuke were mocking Saizou, who owed a debt to the woman as he left the place. Saizou, who had no other choice, ended up following Izanami's orders. At Yukimura's residence, he revealed to Rokuro that he had a mission to gather 10 great swordsmen. No wonder Saizou was now feeling that the Yukimura people were great swordsmen. Saizou hated it if he had a master, but he wanted to know what Yukimura would do, so he stayed there. The next day, when Saizou woke up, he was surprised to see Izanami in his room. He then threw the bed that she was sleeping on. Soon, Sasuke brought food for him. When Saizou had no time to eat his breakfast, some ninjas suddenly attacked, making his food fall to the floor. While Izanami returned to her room to eat breakfast, she left Saizou, who looked upset. Sometime later, Izanami was busy choosing the clothes she would wear at the harvest dance party that was soon to be held. Confused, she asked Saizou who was there, but he lazily answered that all colors were the same. Hearing Izanami, who kept nagging and questioning, he pointed at the pink clothes there. She liked Saizou's taste, and he had left when she was about to talk to him. Saizou was walking towards a river and accidentally saw his childhood friend Anastasia bathing in the river. He approached the river, and when Anna saw him, she hugged him. Saizou asked why she was in Ueda and told her he was currently working with Yukimura. He also revealed that he was upset with Yukimura, who had managed to gather many swordsmen. On the other hand, Izanami turned out to be there and saw Ana hug Saizou, and she was upset. While the quarrel was going on, Yukimura and Rokuro came and stopped the fight. Yukimura then asked for some information to Ana. She explained that rumors were circulating about a snake demon attacking the woods. Izanami, afraid to hear Ana's story, was seen hugging Saizou, while Rokuro was worried about Sasuke, who was on a mission alone. Yukimura tried to calm down and said Sasuke would signal them if danger were coming. After that, Yukimura invited everyone to the village harvest festival. In the event of the harvest festival, Izanami danced very beautifully, and the audience enjoyed it. When Saizou left the event with Ana, Izanami, who was on stage, was jealous seeing that. Therefore, after she finished dancing, she caught up with Saizou and Ana, who were now walking in the rice fields. Saizou was surprised because she was supposed to be dancing. Izanami replied that the dance was over and now she would go wherever he went. Annoyed, Ana said that Izanami would only be a hindrance when fighting because she and Saizou were planning to look for a giant snake. However, Izanami persisted in believing that Saizou would protect her. Ana chose to go from there. At that time, Saizou tried to prevent Ana from leaving, but Izanami seemed to pull him to stay with her. Before leaving, Izanami pointed at a forest and said she felt something scary inside. Finally, Saizou and Izanami looked for a giant snake in the forest. The atmosphere of the forest was strange because even the sound of birds was not heard. Not long after, she sensed the presence of a snake near them. When the snake appeared, Saizou carried Izanami to save her until he was pretty overwhelmed by avoiding the snake attack while holding her. She passed out after seeing the snake. He nagged because she was very troublesome. Suddenly, the giant snake slammed into Izanami's body using its tail. She fell while Saizou was struck by a snake so that he couldn't move. When Izanami was awake, Saizou asked her to leave, but she tried to pull him away from the serpent's body. Then, Saizou decided to blow up the snake. The snake seemed very powerful because it was still alive even after Saizou blew it up. He also realized that the snake was controlled by someone. He targeted the snake's eyes and stabbed them with a sword. After that, the giant snake exploded, making Saizou fall into the blast hole. Izanami looked for Saizou in the pit and found him lying unconscious. After Saizou awoke, she hugged him, who survived the explosion. She then treated his wound and bandaged it. At that time, Izanami said that Saizou was a light in her life and that she was comfortable near him. However, Saizou noted that it was impossible because he came from the world of darkness and had lived in darkness. After finishing treatment, Saizou split the ruins of the stone with his sword so they could come out of the hole. From that place, they saw the smoke from their village, and it seemed like the enemy had attacked the town. He immediately took Izanami out of the pit. Yukimura and Rokuro saved civilians in a chaotic village, especially women and children. A ninja named Hanzo, looking for Izanami's whereabouts, held a female servant hostage and asked her. Since the maid didn't know it, the ninja killed her. Elsewhere, Sasuke was fighting with a giant snake handler named Aokatsuka, who had stored explosives in all the bodies of the serpents she controlled. Sasuke fought her with ninja technique, but she ended up being bitten by a snake that came out of Aokatsuka's body and lost consciousness. Sasuke was about to be attacked again by a snake that appeared in the river. Ana then came to his aid and crushed the snake with her icy stance. Sasuke himself was not happy that he was helped by Ana because Ana was his enemy. Soon, Aokatsuka chose to go from there and said that the destination was Ueda village. Sasuke, who learned that the village was attacked, hurried away to return to the town. Whereas Izanami had now arrived in a village full of smoke. She saw an old man who was injured and asking for help. She showed him the way to get out of the village. When she looked for other residents who needed help, suddenly, Hanzo attacked from behind the smoke and found Izanami there. He said he would take her away with him. Izanami immediately recognized the face of Hanzo, who killed the chief priest in the temple. Saizou came to save Izanami and said he would not let Hanzo bring Izanami, and the two fought. Annoyed, Hanzo then pulled out his weapon, while Saizou used shadow technique and could disappear when Hanzo attacked him. However, with Hanzo's mighty power, he could hurt him. Saizou also took out his secret illusion technique, but Hanzo could still fight it. Hanzo then injured Saizou's hand and took out several small bombs, causing Saizou to be seriously injured. Izanami, worried about seeing the fight, was suddenly hit by Hanzo to stop her from letting her strength out. Saizou recalled Izanami's words that he was her light, so he rose again and attacked Hanzo with his new power. With his illusion technique, he managed to wound Hanzo with his sword. Saizou immediately headed to Izanami and tried to carry her. However, because the wound was too severe, he fainted. Soon after, Sasuke and Ana came to help them. Hanzo, who found out that Aokatsuka had been defeated by Sasuke in the forest, decided to retreat because he was injured. After the incident, Yukimura and other swordsmen held a meeting to discuss what they would do next because many villagers were victims of the attack. He asked Saizou to take Izanami back to Izumo Temple. Saizou was angry with Yukimura, who thought he would abandon Izanami. Kake, who was also there, scolded Saizou to be more polite to Yukimura. Seeing Kake, Saizou questioned his identity because he had never seen him before. As it turned out, Kake was one of the swordsmen gathered by Yukimura, who had returned from recon in Izumo Temple. According to Kake, Tokugawa was looking for Izanami, so Saizou was ordered to accompany her back to Izumo Temple. Saizou then asked what if she refused it. Suddenly, Izanami said she would return to the temple if she went with Saizou. The next day, Saizou, Izanami, and Kake prepared to begin their journey to the Izumo Temple. Sasuke gave an owl to Izanami that could help their journey, and she was pleased with the gift. Meanwhile, from behind, Yukimura appeared and teased Sasuke, who was attentive to Izanami. Out of embarrassment, he went to the forest. Before leaving, Izanami didn't seem to agree because Kake joined the group. Kake said Yukimura proposed it because he knew the area well. Izanami complained because she could not be alone with Saizou. Finally, the three of them left. On the road, Izanami was seen sticking with Saizou, which upset Kake because he was alone. At night, they stopped to rest in a field around the forest. Izanami complained about why they didn't find a place to stay. Kake scolded her and said they had to save money because their journey was still far away. Soon, Saizou put up his bed and wanted to rest. Izanami, who didn't want to be away from Saizou, joined him in bed. Kake was annoyed with both of them, so he pulled Saizou from there. After being far enough away from Izanami, Kake apologized because he did not know that he had married Izanami. Saizou was surprised and said he was not married to Izanami. Saizou explained that Izanami was such a spoiled girl that she behaved like that. Soon, Saizou and Kake chose to sit by the campfire for the night. Izanami called Saizou and asked him to sleep together. Saizou nagged and asked her to sleep alone. Meanwhile, Kake and Saizou continued discussing Yukimura, who wanted to gather the swordsmen. The next day, they continued on their way back. In the middle of the journey, Izanami saw a woman injured on the road and asked Saizou to take her with them. Saizou followed Izanami's request and took the injured woman with them. Then, they reached a wooden bridge they had to cross to get to the other side of the cliff. When Izanami and Saizou walked over the bridge, Kake was seen still on the edge of the bridge because he was afraid of heights. Suddenly, the woman that Izanami helped attacked Saizou, and it turned out that she was a man named Kamanosuke. He took Izanami and gave it to his men. Meanwhile, Saizou could not help Izanami because he had difficulty moving after being attacked by the force of Kamanosuke's wind. Soon, Kamanosuke asked his men to undress Izanami. Luckily, it was stopped by Kake, who shot Kamanosuke's men from the edge of the bridge. Kake's shot killed Kamanosuke's men, while Kamanosuke protected himself with his wind gun until he split the bridge. Saizou fell into the gorge, and Izanami was taken by Kamanosuke as a hostage. On the edge of the gorge, Kamanosuke bound Izanami and said to her that Saizou would shortly come to her rescue because he knew that Saizou was very concerned with her. Kamanosuke was very happy to kill and wanted to finish Saizou off immediately. He tortured Izanami until she was unconscious and hung from a tree on the cliff. Kake tried to help Saizou, who fell into the gorge. After finding him, they hurried away to help Izanami. Reaching the bottom of the cliff, Saizou and Kake saw unconscious Izanami hanging from a tree. Saizou, who was angry, immediately climbed the ridge, even though he questioned himself why he did all that to save Izanami. Upon reaching the top, Saizou and Kamanosuke fought. Saizou managed to get Kamanosuke hurt by his attack. During the fight, Kamanosuke realized that Saizou's eyes emitted a more incredible aura of darkness than his, and he found out that Saizou had killed more people than him. Kamanosuke continues to provoke him by saying he was thrilled to have met someone who was also happy to kill many people. However, Saizou was angry about Kamanosuke's actions against Izanami, so he used his personal style to defeat him. On the other hand, Kake reached the cliff after taking another road. He immediately took Izanami down from the tree. At the same time, Kamanosuke again tried to provoke Saizou to kill him. At first, Saizou was lured and prepared to kill Kamanosuke until Izanami stopped it because Kamanosuke had been seriously injured. Saizou still looked angry because of what Kamanosuke did to her, but Izanami convinced him she was okay because he had come to save her. Eventually, Saizou declared his intention to kill Kamanosuke and asked Izanami to leave the place immediately. After descending from the cliff, the three chose to rest and heal Izanami's wounds. Kake warned of Izanami's daring attitude as she was almost hit by Saizou's sword. Izanami said that Saizou always protected her. After Izanami's treatment was completed, they continued on their way back. Elsewhere, a horse warrior named Masamune, a ruler of Aoshu, and his man, Kazuya, heading to Izumo Temple to retrieve Kushimathama, fragments of God's soul. Kazuya asked what Masamune would do if he had the fragment. He replied that he would change the situation and make new moves. Saizou and the others have now reached the Izumo Temple, which only left the building burned down. They went around the temple, then suddenly, Izanami remembered her friends and the temple priest. She used to dance there, and she wanted to be a dancer. She felt unfortunate to see the place destroyed. In Ueda, Rokuro asked Yukimura why he asked Izanami to return to Izumo's temple. Rokuro thought that she would take something left in the temple. Yukimura was not sure, but she would meet someone there. Yukimura himself guessed who was going to show up. In Izumo's temple, Izanami still looked sad and asked Saizou why it should be attacked. He said they came there to find the cause. While at the archway of the temple, Saizou felt something strange because the archway did not burn and was still intact. Saizou checked from the top of the pole. He saw a symbol on the floor that looked like yin and yang. Kake tried to open the floor with the sign, but he failed. Izanami, who saw the symbol, suddenly slid the stone, so the door opened. She was pretty surprised that she knew how to open it. After doing that way, the floor shifted, and there was a staircase to the basement. They went into the cellar and found a dead end. At that time, Izanami found writing on a wall in Izumo that she did not understand. Shortly, someone noticed that they were being followed by the enemy. When they put out the candles, they saw Hanzo and Aokatsuka were there. Hanzo turned out to want the gemstone in Izanami's hairpin. There, Izanami realized that many people were targeting her because they wanted the hairpin she was wearing. She became very guilty because she felt she had killed her family and friends in the temple. While Saizou tried to protect Izanami and fought Hanzo, who has extraordinary powers. While in a separate place, Kake was facing Aokatsuka's snake. Meanwhile, Saizou was seriously injured by Hanzo's attack. Then Izanami asked them to stop fighting because they didn't want Saizou to die. The helpless Saizou then said he would not die. He rose again to attack Hanzo. Soon, a wind strike came against Hanzo. Kamanosuke said he would kill the man who hurt Saizou because only he would kill Saizou with his hands. Eventually, Kamanosuke and Hanzo fought. Seeing Kamanosuke overwhelmed by Hanzo's power, Saizou asked Kamanosuke to do it together. With the attacks of Saizou and Kamanosuke, Hanzo was defeated. On the other hand, Kake also beat Aokatsuka with his rifle. After the fight, Izanami treated Saizou, Kake, and Kamanosuke's wounds. At that time, Izanami still blamed herself for the temple incident. Saizou said it was not her fault but the evil force in her hairpin. Soon after, Masamune came on his horse and kidnapped Izanami. Saizou and the others couldn't catch up to him because of their severely injured condition. Masamune then asked Saizou and others to convey his message to Yukimura if he already had a Kushi Midama. Saizou had a friend in the past, but their master betrayed him by killing his friend. At that time, he saw his master dump his friend's body into the river. He was so angry and frustrated that he killed his master and all the troops there. Since then, Saizou has never trusted anyone else. Back at this moment, Saizou suddenly awoke from his dream. Kake, who was there, has made herbal medicine for Saizou. However, Saizou did not listen to Kake and would rush away. Seeing that, Kake was angry because Saizou was rashly trying to catch up with the enemy. He explained that Saizou's anger was because of Izanami, who had been kidnapped by Masamune. Kake told Saizou and Kamanosuke, who was there, that he would report to Yukimura. Meanwhile, in Ueda, Sasuke was seen worrying about Izanami. He found Izanami's owl carrying lousy news that she had been kidnapped by Masamune from Aoshu. Yukimura asked Sasuke and Anna to help their friends who were attacked by the enemy. At Masamune's place, Izanami was mourning herself. Masamune tried to talk to her. However, upon hearing the word temple, Izanami remembered Saizou and released the power from her hairpin. Seeing that, Masamune returned to his room. There, he explained to Kazuya that the power he saw earlier was the power of Kushi Midama. Since Izanami was from the Izumo temple, she could use the stone's power. The force of Kushi Midama was so powerful that it could even destroy a country because it came from the power of a god. Typically, Kushi Midama users would experience physical and mental disorders. With such great power, Masamune wanted a new revolution. Due to the regulations made by Tokugawa, Masamune had difficulty acting. That was why he would control the Kushi Midama to change the world. Kazuya reminded his master that such acts would cause chaos and war. But Masamune, determined to be God and rewrite history, did not listen to his words. The scene turns to Sasuke and Anna, who are now in the woods. They were suddenly attacked by a group of ninjas. They fought with the ninjas, and finally, Sasuke handed them to Anna, and she continued her journey to find their partners. Masamune and Kazuya's conversation still needed to be finished in his room. Masamune revealed that there was a reason why Izanami was chosen to wear Kushi Midama. At the same time, Sasuke arrived, where Izanami was locked up. Sasuke asked her to go with him. However, Izanami refused the invitation and said she did not want to return to Ueda, and Sasuke was surprised to hear that. Izanami now blamed herself for all the things that happened to her friends. Elsewhere, Anna was caught by a group of ninjas, and now she's tied up and locked up in prison. From a vent in the room, Anna saw Sasuke's owl coming, signaling that Izanami didn't want to go back to Ueda. Anna immediately untied all her ties, moved to attack the ninjas, and went to Izanami's place. Anna finally met Izanami, who did not want to return to Ueda. There, Ana tried to disenchant Izanami and said she had to fight the enemy if she didn't want to be a hindrance. Yukimura himself had chosen Izanami to be the swordsman. After hearing Ana's words, Izanami realized what she had to do. Finally, she agreed to return to Ueda. She also apologized to Sasuke for her previous attitude. Sasuke replied that Izanami didn't hurt anyone. Izanami and the others arrived at Ueda and met Yukimura. She apologized to him for her attitude. Yukimura warmly welcomed her and asked her to rest. Shortly after, Saizou and the others returned to Ueda. Izanami then greeted Kake, who survived and made it. She tried to approach Saizou, but he avoided her and immediately entered his room. When Saizou was in his room, Izanami, who was outside, asked about him, but he ignored her and chose to go to the roof. Sasuke, who saw it, was upset and approached Saizou on the top and asked him to fight. He tried to disenchant him and said he had to be stronger for someone else. Sasuke's words finally made Saizou realize his mistake. Suddenly, from behind, Yukimura appeared and praised Sasuke, so he was embarrassed and left, whereas Yukimura told Saizou to rise from his misery. Yukimura asked Izanami to come and explain Saizou's reasons for staying away from him. Izanami, who was moved, then hugged Saizou. At her residence, Masamune discovered Izanami's room empty and found out if someone had taken her. He then hurried to go to get Izanami back. However, Kazuya forbade him from acting rashly. Masamune suspected that the one who had taken Izanami was Yukimura. They're gathering at Yukimura's castle. They're reporting the results of the investigation. In the evening, at his place, Yukimura asked Rokuro to read Saizou's eyes to get information. Rokuro turned out to have a power in his eyes that could read someone's memory. When Rokuro opened his right eye and looked into Saizou's eyes, all of Saizou's memories could be read and stored in his eyes. The following day, the swordsman did not find Yukimura's whereabouts. The room also looked messy, so Kake thought Yukimura had been kidnapped by the enemy. Suddenly, Sasuke appeared from the window and conveyed the message of Yukimura, who was going to the hot spring with Rokuro. Yukimura asked all the swordsmen to follow him. Saizou, who heard it, was astonished at Yukimura's strange behavior. All the swordsmen set out for the hot springs. They took a short break at the tavern in the middle of the trip. Saizou, looking for Izanami's whereabouts, saw Kake in a quarrel with a monk named Miyoshi Seikai. Kake told Saizou that Seikai didn't pay for the food and tried to remind him to pay for it. Seikai was sorry if he didn't pay for his food because he was on a critical mission to find his missing sister. Kake didn't accept it for that reason and challenged him to a fight. With great physical strength and mighty power, Seikai overwhelmed both Kake and Saizou. He could even bend Kake's favorite weapon to make him sad. Sasuke and Kamanosuke came to help, but Seikai's power overwhelmed all swordsmen. Soon, Izanami came carrying Dongo Cake and was surprised to see them around her fighting. When Seikei saw Izanami's face, he cried happily because he had finally met his sister. Izanami, who felt like not knowing Seikai, tried to avoid him. Seikei explained that he was her brother. However, she was still frightened and approached Saizou, who whispered something to her. Seikai didn't like it if Izanami was close to Saizou trying to break them up. Then, Izanami asked Seikei to mend all the damage he had done. Seikei complied with Izanami's request and repaired the residence walls. Meanwhile, Kamanosuke still fainted after getting Seikai's attack. Saizou hesitated to wake him up. After Seikei fixed the damage, the swordsmen continued to the hot spring again. Once there, everyone enjoyed their holiday to relieve their fatigue. Saizou scolded Sasuke for bringing animals to the hot spring pool, while Yukimura went to the women's place. When Saizou left the hot spring and saw Kamanosuke soaking wet after bathing in the river, he wiped Kamanosuke's head to embarrass Kamanosuke and said he would kill Saizou. Kamanosuke himself was now unsure of his sudden feelings for Saizou. On the other hand, Sasuke was looking for his pet, which Kamanosuke was hugging, worried about his feelings for Saizou. Elsewhere, Yukimura regained consciousness after being frozen by Ana in a hot bath. Rokuro asked about Yukimura's next plan. He explained the possibility that he would go to find out the power of Tokugawa. The next day, Yukimura took Rokuro, Saizou, and Izanami went with him somewhere. Kamanosuke got upset because he was going to be away from Saizou. Yukimura proceeded to have the other swordsmen guard his residence. There, Yukimura said goodbye to Ana while flirting with her that she would be lonely without him, but she ignored his flattery. They all finally left. Izanami seemed very happy to go with Saizou and ride a horse together. Saizou then asked Yukimura about the guests who would attend the drinking party at the destination. Yukimura replied that the guests were Maeda, Mori, Uesugi, and others. He also said it was likely that Masamune would be present. Yukimura's guess turned out to be true. In Masamune's residence, he was preparing to go to the event to get Kushimidama back. Kazuya reminded his master not to be rash during the event. As for the Yukimura group, after resting and enjoying lunch, they returned to continue their journey. On the trip, Izanami met a boy who told the group to take a detour. After that, she gave the boy a lollipop. From afar, Saizou smelled gunpowder on the boy's body. Yukimura's entourage continued its journey through the path that the boy described earlier. However, it turned out that many traps made them all difficult. Luckily, Kamanosuke and Seikai came to help them. After they made it through the trap, they all gathered, including the boy. As it turned out, all the snags were created by the boy to perform the test of choosing his master. Since Yukimura's entourage got away, he asked Yukimura to hire him. Saizou seemed angry because all the traps were made very dangerous. Therefore, he would not accept if Yukimura hired that boy. However, out of pity, Izanami embraced the boy and felt sorry he had no purpose of going. Yukimura asked for the boy's name, and he was Mochizuki Rokuro. Yukimura was confused because there were two people with the same name, so he called the boy Benmaru. Rokuro protested because the name was one of Yukimura's names. Yukimura did not mention it and told Benmaru that he would hire him in Ueda. Benmaru seemed happy to hear that. After Yukimura's group reached the destination city, Yukimura prepared to leave to attend a meeting held by Mr. Tokugawa at his residence. He reminded Saizou not to use his sword while he was away and asked him to look after his friends. While Yukimura and Rokuro left, Saizou, Izanami, and the others went to the market. One of Masamune's members there was planning to kidnap Izanami. His partner suddenly stopped him because they were not allowed to use weapons. Yukimura and Rokuro arrived at Mr. Tokugawa's residence and met with prominent Japanese feudal figures. Tokugawa and the other members gathered in an open room, and he realized some members still needed to be present. Soon after, Masamune came to greet Master Tokugawa. Masamune looked at Yukimura as he drew his sword and challenged Yukimura to fight him. Mr. Tokugawa didn't mind and allowed it. With a hand fan, Yukimura fought back and fended off Masamune's sword. Other members were entertained by Yukimura's actions. Masamune was not happy to continue attacking Yukimura until he fell. Yukimura kicked Masamune's sword until it almost hit Mr. Tokugawa. Yukimura claimed to have defeated Masamune to make the audience even more entertained. After the meeting, Yukimura returned with the other members, but Tokugawa's messenger came and asked Yukimura to be responsible for what he did at the previous event. Yukimura asked the swordsmen to prepare to run because they would be hunted by the Tokugawa troops. Kamanosuke and Seikai were seen intercepting the Tokugawa troops by destroying the bridge, while Yukimura only laughed at it and asked if Izanami had brought an exciting swordsman. They continued their journey and fled the pursuit of the enemy. Saizou asked Yukimura why he had been pursued. Yukimura said that there were people who didn't like him, and he also had enemies there. When the group continued their journey, they were attacked by the enemy's troops. Benmaru, who came there, has set up a trap to help them intercept the enemy. Izanami was happy to see Benmaru had joined them. Afterward, Yukimura asked Saizou and Kamanosuke to investigate the area while he and the others continued their journey. Izanami was sad because she had to part with Saizou, but Yukimura said that Saizou would return with them. Saizou and Kamanosuke were doing surveillance on the island. As it turned out, all means of transportation have been obliterated by Masamune and his men. The island had also been surrounded by Masamune troops, so Yukimura could not escape his trap. After learning all these things, Saizou reported it to Yukimura. Suddenly, Masamune's men attacked Saizou, saying he was a dark assassin. Hearing that, Saizou fought with rage, and at the same time, he remembered Izanami's words to him. Many of Masamune's troops had been defeated by Saizou. Hence, Masamune was angry and would attack Yukimura. From a distance, a ship approached the island and attacked Masamune's troops with cannon fire. It turned out that Kake came to the rescue, and Yukimura asked all his members to leave immediately to board the ship. Kake said he was helped by his friend, Jinpachi, a pirate. Jinpachi was upset to see Kake because he didn't have a woman in his crew. Then Izanami approached Jinpachi and said that she was a woman. Jinpachi complained that she was just a child. Everyone laughed at the joke, but Seikai was angry after his sister was insulted, so he attacked him. Jinpachi quickly blocked the attack. Despite the tension on the ship, it subsided after Jinpachi invited the swordsmen to drink. Benmaru, who wanted to join, was not allowed to drink by Saizou because he was still a kid. Kamanosuke and Jinpachi were already drunk. Meanwhile, Yukimura was chatting with Jinpachi. Even Seikai had fallen from drunkenness. So was Izanami, who looked drunk on the boat. Kake then came to Saizou and brought him a drink. They were talking about how Kake got on a pirate ship. Soon, the half-conscious Kamanosuke came to disturb Saizou. On the other hand, Jinpachi was surprised by Yukimura. He remained calm despite being surrounded by the enemy while on the island. Yukimura said he had swordsmen to help him so he wouldn't lose. Jinpachi explained that he did not want to be attached to a master and wanted to live free like the ocean. Yukimura recounted that he was happy with his swordsmen and enjoyed living with them even though he was poor, so he could not afford to hire people and only had a small territory. Seeing the nature of Yukimura, Jinpachi seemed to admire him. At last, they arrived on the mainland, and Jinpachi was coming with Yukimura's entourage. It turned out that he decided to become a swordsman following Yukimura to Ueda. Izanami counted the number of swordsmen who had accumulated even 10 men. Saizou seemed to turn cold after hearing that. When the group arrived at Ueda's residence, Yukimura said he would welcome 10 swordsmen. The swordsmen returned to their rooms to rest. Izanami seemed very happy because she could sleep in her bed again. Shortly after, Anna came to greet her. Suddenly Izanami remembered that she had forgotten to buy a gift for Anna. Therefore, Anna asked Izanami to tell her about their journey. Izanami passionately recounts her adventures with Anna in the room. Saizou, who had just finished showering, was seen passing Izanami and Anna's room, and he heard Izanami telling Anna a story. Saizou smiled at her innocence. At midnight, Saizou peeked into Yukimura's room from the attic. Yukimura realized what Saizou was doing and told him to get out. Saizou said he would kill Yukimura if he did not answer the question. He asked about Yukimura's goal of collecting 10 swordsmen. Yukimura then gave him a picture of yin and yang and explained if the swordsmen were like the 10 circles he drew. Each swordsman has his own strength and elements. Saizou himself was a light that illuminated them. Hearing this, Saizou laughed because he was a man from the darkness. He then asked who was the symbol of darkness in the picture. Yukimura explained that it was Izanami with her dark power. When Saizou and Yukimura talked seriously, Anna infiltrated Rokuro's room to take his eyes. Rokuro resisted, but he was injured after being attacked by Anna. When he was cornered, Rokuro chose to ruin his eyes so they could not be taken. Soon, Sasuke came to help Rokuro, who was seriously injured. Sasuke asked why Anna did this. As it turned out, Anna was a ninja spy from another lord's emissary. With her strength, Anna attacked Sasuke to the point of injury and fled to the forest. Saizou knew what Anna did, and he waited for her in the forest and asked for an explanation of why she betrayed him. Anna did not answer and immediately attacked him. Both attacked each other, and it seemed that Saizou was superior and could corner Anna. Not far from the place of the fight, Kamanosuke hid behind a tree. He trembled at the sight of the battle. Finally, Anna was cornered, and Saizou asked who her master was. She didn't want to tell him and chose to escape using her ice strength. At Yukimura's residence, he was helping Rokuro, who was critical of being poisoned. When he awoke, Rokuro cried for not being able to stop Anna and protect his eyes. Yukimura asked him to calm down and not blame himself. On the other hand, Sasuke was also sad because he could not stop Anna and save Rokuro. Instead, Yukimura praised Sasuke's strength to help Rokuro. The scene turns to Saizou, who is waiting for Yukimura in his room. They were about to resume the conversation that had been cut off before. Suddenly, Jinpachi came to join. Yukimura explained to Jinpachi the purpose of the 10 swordsmen gathered. To balance the world, swordsmen must withstand the forces of darkness from the yin and yang symbols. The darkness was symbolized by Izanami with her power. Long ago, in Izumo's temple, when Izanami was sad, she unleashed the power of darkness until a swordsman was lost to the darkness. At the same time, the head priest found out that the dark path in the temple was connected to the world of the dead. The power of Kushimitama itself was an upheaval of chaos that undermined peace. In other words, Izanami did not protect the power of Kushimitama, but Kushimitama saved the world from Izanami. Unintentionally, Izanami listened to Yukimura's talk from outside the room. Knowing herself to bring darkness and death, she pondered about her identity on the hill. Saizou was watching her from afar. Meanwhile, Anna rejoined her group, which started a massive offensive to create a world of chaos. Finally, Yukimura talked about Izanami to other swordsmen. When Seikai was about to go looking for Izanami, he was stopped by Yukimura, who said that Izanami could only be protected by Saizou's light. Sasuke and Kekai seemed sad thinking about Izanami's condition. On other occasions, Seikai lived under a waterfall and thought of ways to help his sister from the darkness, while Benmaru, who sat not far from there, was remembering his memories with the cheerful Izanami. In Yukimura's residence, Mitsunari and Mori came to visit. Yukimura inquired about the purpose of their arrival. Back on the hill, Saizou was still watching Izanami from the forest. Soon after, he was attacked by Muso, Hanzo's friend, who was killed at the Izumo temple and was one of the 5 Iga members. Saizou knew that Muso had sent Anna. Muso said he would kill all the swordsmen and take Izanami away. Saizou finally fought Muso, who looked very strong. Meanwhile, Sasuke was attacked by one of the 5 Iga members while with Kekai in the forest. The spider woman's name was Kaio. Sasuke was surprised to hear of the 5 Iga and learned they kept their identities secret. Kaio explained to Sasuke and Kekai that they had been ordered to attack all Yukimura warriors. Their group would kill all the barriers that protect Kushimitama. Elsewhere, Seikai had discovered the enlightenment of his meditation and found out that Izanami was a god sent by God. From the top of the waterfall, a woman named Byakugun dropped an iron ball over Seikai's body. After that, she tried to kill Benmaru. Seikai was able to break the iron ball and save Benmaru. Seikai asked who exactly was the woman who attacked him. Byakugun explained that she was a member of the 5 Iga. The scene returns to Saizou's fight. It was apparent that Saizou was getting overwhelmed by Muso. Izanami knew there was a fight, and she tried to stop it. She said she would turn himself in if Muso didn't hurt Saizou. But she was tied up in a tree because Muso didn't want to be disturbed and wanted to kill Saizou. Meanwhile, Sasuke and Kake were very overwhelmed by Kaio insects. Sasuke was poisoned, and Kake was bitten by a poisonous insect, whereas Kaio seemed to be enjoying the moment the insects attacked the two swordsmen. On the river banks, Seikai carried Benmaru to avoid Byakugun attack, which was so fast that it made it difficult for him to attack. Seikai and Byakugun disagreed about trust. According to Seikai, all power came from God, but Byakugun believed power came from self. Seikai believed that with the help of the gods, he could defeat Byakugun. Both of them clashed in strength, and it seemed that Byakugun had become stronger than before, so she could make Seikai and Benmaru helpless. Sasuke and Kake were now surrounded by insects and couldn't do anything. Seeing Saizou helplessly facing Muso, Izanami felt so sad that she let out her darkness. Muso provoked Izanami and blamed her for the death of the swordsmen. Saizou rose again and tried to fight Muso with the rest of his energy. He asked Izanami not to listen to Muso. Elsewhere, Kamanosuke had to confront one of the 5 Iga ninjas. The ninja attacked and trapped him with its illusion. In the fantasy, he became a princess with her ideal man. However, suddenly Saizou's shadow appeared so that he could realize the illusion. Kamanosuke fought the ninja 5 Iga. When Jinpachi was catching fish in the pond, suddenly, the lake water froze, and Anna attacked Jinpachi. He fended off Anna's attack and nagged about why he should be involved in the dispute. When she struck, Jinpachi said that her face did not imply she wanted to kill him. Anna remembered the story of her childhood when she met 5 Iga ninja and said there was no beauty and warmth in the world because it was all just a fantasy. Anna assured herself she would not falter and was determined to kill the swordsman. Anna attacked Jinpachi and put him on the ice. Saizou seemed to have been beaten up after a fight with Muso. Izanami blamed herself for not being able to help all her friends. Suddenly, the dark goddess came to meet her. She said she would give Izanami strength by removing the hairpin that she was wearing. Izanami, who wanted the power of devotion, untied herself from the tree and removed her hairpin. After that, the sky turned dark. The sun was covered with the light of darkness because of the rising power of darkness in Izanami's body. Yukimura, who realized that, immediately worried Izanami, as well as Rokuro, who tried to rise even though he was hurt and wanted to stop her. Yukimura left her guests and went with Rokuro to stop Izanami. Now, the forces of darkness had risen and would destroy the universe. Muso seemed to enjoy it and did not expect Izanami to be the goddess of killers with mighty power. At that time, Izanami was in a massive sphere of darkness. Muso told Saizou that his opponent was feeble because Saizou had bonds and friends. Soon after, Yukimura and Rokuro arrived at Saizou's place. They saw that the Kushimitama had been held by Muso and tried to attack the ball of darkness using the Kushimitama in his hand. However, the attack was unsuccessful because Izanami had drowned in the darkness. Muso, who fought the ball of darkness, ended up walking away. Seeing the dark goddess reject the power of Kushimitama, Rokuro remembered a prophecy that said that if the power of darkness appeared to the world a second time, then it could only be sealed by one who had a broad and robust heart. Rokuro was willing to sacrifice himself to fight the darkness but was prevented by Saizou. He asked Rokuro not to interfere and did not believe in the prophecy. Saizou only believed that Izanami could be saved. He then took Izanami's hairpin and struck the ball of darkness with his sword. At the same time, he asked Izanami to be aware because all swordsmen expected her presence. With Saizou's power and Kushimitama, Saizou managed to get inside the sphere of darkness. In the ball of darkness, he seeks Izanami's whereabouts. Meanwhile, the helpless Seikai remembered his memories with Izanami and the struggle to meet his sister. He appears to have lost faith in God because he couldn't save Izanami. Benmaru, who had been conscious, tried to wake him up and asked him to work together against Byakugun. Finally, Seikai and Benmaru could blow up Byakugun and defeat her. Due to Izanami's dark forces, the insects were scared, so Sasuke and Kake could be free from the insect attack. Sasuke attacked Kaio with poisonous tendrils until she was in pain. The attack then ended when Kake shot Kaio to death. After being attacked by the 5 Iga ninjas, Kamanosuke was increasingly eager to kill. He turned to attack the ninja with his chain until his opponent's body was torn. On the other hand, Anna intended to take her sword near Jinpachi's frozen body. When Anna held the handle of her sword, she was suddenly electrocuted by Jinpachi until the ice confining Jinpachi was destroyed. Whereas Anna was now bounced down after being electrocuted, Jinpachi took the unconscious Anna away from there. Yukimura was worried about Saizou, who had entered the ball of darkness and was swallowed. He's afraid Saizou won't be able to come back. Saizou managed to get into the ball of darkness and survived, thanks to his hairband. There, he saw Izanami trapped by the goddess of darkness. Saizou asked her to come out of the darkness immediately. She cried and told him that she wanted to be strong and protect her friends. Izanami did not want to be a burden to others, so she wanted the power so that no one would be hurt. Saizou said that she was the light of his life all this time. Saizou tried to persuade Izanami and convinced that she was one of the 10 strong swordsmen. He asked her to come back to him. Finally, Izanami went out of the darkness, and Saizou embraced her like a symbol of yin and yang. Eventually, Saizou and Izanami survived the darkness. Yukimura realized Saizou was a light for Izanami. Yukimura hugs Izanami and takes her home to Ueda. Other swordsmen also gathered to meet Izanami and Saizou. At that time, Izanami said that Saizou's light was very sparkling. Meanwhile, Anna regretted her actions and surrendered if Jinpachi punished her. Jinpachi asked her to go back to the swordsmen. She said that they wouldn't forgive her because she betrayed them. Jinpachi asked her to lead a new second life. In his residence, Yukimura and his guests again discussed an alliance to bring down Tokugawa Ieyasu's power. They tried to gather strength and tear down his power. Mitsunari told Yukimura that they would soon meet on the battlefield. Elsewhere, Masamune said he would start a war to destroy the world. Once the light of darkness had passed, the swordsmen's lives were back to normal. Saizou was chased by Kamanosuke, who was very obsessed with him. Saizou told Yukimura if Yukimura gathered the swordsmen only to be his pawn. He laughed in response to Saizou's opinion. On the other hand, Izanami made cakes for all the swordsmen, while Seikei made drinks with Benmaru. Saizou nagged Izanami because he always ruled them all after Izanami divided the household duties between the swordsmen. At that time, they were all gathered, and Kake told Yukimura they needed a leader. Saizou asked Kake to be their leader. Kake didn't want to because he was going on a trip. Saizou then offered Sasuke, and he beat him up. Izanami then stopped the fight. The last scene shows that all the swordsmen agreed and decided that Saizou would be the leader of 10 Yukimura swordsmen from Ueda. The moral value we can learn from this anime is that a team will be stronger if all members trust each other.